Welcome to G Fun Facts Online, where we dive deep into the fascinating stories our world has to tell. Today, we're becoming geological detectives. Imagine a desert, baked and barren. Now what if I told you that, thousands of years ago, it was covered by vast lakes, teeming with life? And what if the story of the very first people to walk the Americas was written not in books, but in the ghostly footprints of that long-vanished water? Scientists are now using incredible tools to read this hidden history, piecing together a story of migration, survival, and collapse, all tied to the ebb and flow of ancient rivers and lakes. So how do you read a story that's thousands of years old? You need a time machine. Or, the next best thing, a water clock. Scientists look for natural archives, like the sediment at the bottom of ancient lakes. By drilling deep and pulling out long tubes of mud, they get a time capsule. Each layer is a page in the history book. Inside, they find microscopic pollen grains that tell them what plants were growing, revealing if the climate was wet or dry. They find tiny flecks of charcoal, a record of ancient wildfires. They even analyze the chemistry of the mud itself for clues about erosion and environmental change. But how do you know how old these layers are? That's where geochronology comes in. Using methods like radiocarbon dating for old bones or tools, and something called optically stimulated luminescence, which can tell you the last time a grain of sand saw sunlight, scientists can put precise dates on these environmental clues. And for trees, they use dendrochronology, or tree ring dating, which gives a year-by-year record of the climate. Let's see this in action. Case Study 1. The Greening of the Desert. The Great Basin in the western U.S. is arid today, but during the last ice age, it was a lush landscape of enormous lakes. This led to the pluvial lake hypothesis, the idea that the first Americans followed these resource-rich shorelines. At Paisley Caves in Oregon on the shore of ancient Lake Chukurin, archaeologists found stunning proof. They found human evidence dating back more than 14,000 years, predating the famous Clovis culture. But the real story is in the water. By studying fish bones found in the caves, scientists could tell when the lake was high and when it was low. And what did they find? Human occupation at the caves peaked precisely when the lake was massive and full of fish. The people were there because the water was there. They were hunting ancient camels and bison and living off the bounty of a vibrant wetland that is now desert. Now for Case Study 2, the Great Thirst. Just as water gives life, its absence can take it away. In Chaco Canyon, New Mexico, the Ancestral Puebloan people built the largest buildings in North America between 850 and 1140 CE. In a high desert, their success was built on brilliant water management, but their world was fragile. By studying the tree rings and the 240,000 wooden beams they used to build their great houses, scientists found a devastating secret. Around the year 1130, a catastrophic drought began. The tree rings show it year by year. This drought would have made farming impossible. The archaeological record backs this up. In their final years, the Chacoans were traveling over 75 kilometers to haul massive, 700-pound logs from distant mountains because local resources were gone. This was a society under extreme stress. By the late 1200s, the great city was empty. The people had moved on, forced to follow the water. These stories unfolded against a backdrop of even bigger climate shifts, like the Younger Dryas. Around 12,900 years ago, the planet's warming trend suddenly reversed. A massive pulse of fresh water from a melting ice sheet is thought to have poured into the Atlantic, shutting down the ocean currents that carry heat north. This plunged the world back into near glacial conditions, dramatically impacting the people and the giant animals, or megafauna, of early America. This ancient history isn't just a curiosity, it's a profound lesson. By combining the precise dating of geochronology with the environmental stories from Paleo-Hydrology, we see that the first Americans were incredibly adaptable, their fortunes tied directly to water. As we face our own challenges with climate change and water scarcity, the silent testimony of tree rings and the ghostly outlines of ancient lakes are a powerful reminder. They show us that no matter how advanced we become, we are fundamentally dependent on the water that sustains us. The story of early America is a cautionary tale, and perhaps a guide for our own survival. Thanks for listening to G Fun Facts Online. Join us next time for another journey into the amazing world around us.